I'm Jerome Kirkpatrick, and I'm presenting advanced visualizations and metrics for soccer gameplay. I want to create more impactful and informative gameplay, animation, and metrics. I've loved the game for a very long time. I've played for longer than I can remember, and I want data science to help me understand the game in new, exciting ways. My inspiration for this project is in a web app by Applied Data Science. You can see that they're using event data, which is actions such as passes, crosses, shots, and so on that are on the ball events. And you see that it's only one player at a time being involved. Early on in my project, I learned about tracking data, which includes the positions of all players. You can see here, this data has 25 frames per second. And with this, you can do things such like include the speeds and directions of the players. The arrow direction represents the direction, and the length of the arrow represents the speed. That's calculated by taking the position of the player in a frame and then comparing it to their position in a previous frame. I wanted to use both event and tracking data together. I found a data set provided by Metrica Sports, 2 games, event data frames having about 1,500 rows of events and tracking data frames having about 300,000 rows of tracking information. And I wanted to try to capture important moments, such as in this game. The yellow team is napping on a corner kick, and the red team takes advantage to find an unmarked red player in front of the goal with a pass on the ground for an easy goal. You can see the red player having an island of space in a sea of yellow players. What you're seeing here is a concept called Voronoi tessellation. It's a polygon of space around a player that represents the space that a player is closest to every point within. And it's a good start for quantifying off-the-ball control of space. Taking that idea further, combining Voronoi tessellation with some more realistic features such as player speed and the ball travel time, player reaction time, some randomized probability because players don't always succeed at controlling the ball, and checking for offside. These parameters could be improved, such as the ball speed. I'm using an average constant for ball speed in this model. Using a more realistic physics-based model could improve the model for pitch control even further. Here's what the pitch control looks like animated. You can see the space for each player and for the 2 teams dynamically changing. The white areas represent places where retaining possession is 50-50. And in the top left corner, you can see the most recent event being shown. In the top center, I've included the pass expected possession value. It's a rating of each pass as it happens. Pass expected possession value is a value created by multiplying the pitch control at the end pass location, taking that value and multiplying it times the value of where on the field it is, weighted by how close to the goal. The closer to the goal, the higher the weighting, and that represents how closer to goal is where most goals are scored. And as we get further away from goal, that likelihood diminishes quite quickly. You can see that the pass EPV stays quite low as they're far away from the dangerous areas and only starts to increasing once they get into the box. The journey of this project was trying to create an interesting animation with metrics. I had an inspiration. I included positional tracking data using the new concept for me of Voronoi tessellation and adding in features to make it even more realistic to create a pitch control animation along with a pass EPV to rate how dangerous the pass is. For applications, this pitch control model could work great for multiple sports. And for next steps, I'd like to create an even more interesting metric called pitch control threat to try to quantify when players are successful at creating space behind the defensive line and in dangerous areas. So you see this red player is creating this space here inside the box, which is more dangerous than creating space on further outside away from the goal. And then I also want to experiment with the parameters such as like the ball travel time to perhaps have a more realistic model for some of those parameters. Join me on LinkedIn to geek out about soccer analytics and data visualization. Here are some of the technologies and resources that I used. Thank you very much.